All right, we are live on this week's edition of Halftime Hits, brought to you by Broadway Sports Media. I am Jonathan, joined by my co-host Ryan. You can find everything at Broadway TN on Twitter. You can find Ryan at Ryan on Broadway and myself at JB on Broad. Make sure you check out BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Let me tell you, this is the week of Christmas, so very festive. Got the old Christmas sweater out. Got the Christmas background. I got my eggnog. I am ready to go.
Merry ho ho.
Unfortunately, the Titans defense does not seem ready to go. And that seems to be a recurring theme that has taken place over this entire season that refuses to get better. And I will actually give them some credit in the sense of I think the coverage has been pretty good today. It's one thing where you may see these completions that are down the field. Part of it is Matthew Stafford putting the ball on the money on his tight ends. And part of it is just the absolute lack of any semblance of a pass rush whatsoever. Just complete garbage from the front four. You can say there are ways you can get around it in coaching, but as far as my man in front of me and beating him off the ball, there's none of that. Absolutely none of it. And Stafford with ribs and all, with the bruised ribs, a guy that should be trying to get the ball out quickly, completely terrible pass rush.
Yeah, and I think it's the insult to injuries when you allow Stafford to escape the pocket and then rush down the field untouched, don't take a chance to get a hit on the ribs or anything and let him scramble for, I don't know, it was like 10 yards or whatever it was. But you just completely, not only you're not beating your man, but you're getting out of your lanes and you let Stafford of all people get. So that's just the kind of insult to injury to that. So I agree. And I've seen a couple holding penalties and I'm surprised with this crew that they've got. They haven't had the flag a couple times on that. But I guess at this point in the season, we shouldn't be too surprised we're not getting holding calls. But that still doesn't defeat the fact that the Titans front four on just a natural pass rush aren't getting there. So I completely agree with you. And you mentioned coaching to get there. They need to scheme some stuff up. They've tried to put Rashaan Evans down there. I don't know. Somebody's got to do something differently to try to get to Stafford and get him uncomfortable. And that's a key for the second half, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. So looking at some of the comments, Trey Wynn, I know we're bringing some heat as far as the defense goes, but Merry Christmas to you as well, sir. It is definitely, and we're definitely going to give Ryan about not having any sort of, like, put some lights around your neck, bro. Like, at least do something. But no, the defense.
I'm happy to be here, all right?
The defense is absolutely, and that's the thing. I can't even talk trash about the defense. The defensive back coach in me is sitting here and saying this is the best the defensive backfield has played, Ty Smith included, all season. But the fact is that nobody, even if you had 4 Hall of Famers back there, is going to be able to cover when the quarterback feels no heat whatsoever. The only reason that Stafford is throwing the ball on some of these completions is because the guy has finally come open. It's not because he feels pressured after 7 seconds to get rid of the ball, because he can hold it for 10. Nobody's getting there whatsoever. It's terrible. It's absolute terrible. It's embarrassing that they're not trying anything different. I've said it for weeks. Worst case scenario, get beat over the top, put your corners in press and blitz the hell out of the quarterback, because frankly, what's happening right now is not working. And don't even get me started. Yeah, don't even get me started about how for 99 yards, the Titans are literally not just bad, because bad would be fine with this team as good as the offense is. They are one of the worst defenses of all time until they get to the 1 yard line and then they turn into the 85 Bears.
Yeah, Daquan Jones, man, what an effort on that play to catch Swift in midair and start driving him backwards. And I think he might have started to jar the ball loose, but Compton coming across and finishing that play to knock it out and then recover. Great job by those guys to get that done. On the one, obviously it leads to a calamity the very 2 plays later for the offense. We'll get to that in a minute, I guess. But I just, you're right. They wait till they get to that goal line. And as Zach Lyons of the F-Words pod said a couple weeks ago, I think jokingly, it's like, or maybe it was Mike Herndon said, well, I guess they're so good in the red zone because they literally can't back up any further and they just have to start playing. So, I mean, yeah, there's got to be an attitude adjustment when you're in the middle of the field to try to make these plays, because at some point in time against better teams, you're not going to be able to score at will like you are against this Detroit team today for the most part. I mean, there's been 2 negative plays for the offense all game, and it's still a pretty tight game. I mean, relatively speaking.
Yeah, and I see a comment in there about Questenberry, with the giving up the safety there at the goal line, and I get what we're saying here. Questenberry absolutely messed up that play, but Questenberry he's the number 3 left tackle. And I think that's fine. Obviously, they're putting up points. They're moving the football even with him. But I think that's where Art Smith got a little bit cute. I know he's trying to take a shot play because the Lions are definitely gearing on the run on that play. But at the same time, the run had not been stopped. So just keep pounding Henry. Right. And look, my goal, if I was the Titans coming into this game, was to get a big lead and be able to sit Derrick Henry and not worry about anything else because he needs the rest. He absolutely needs the rest. I know he's a physical freak, but he's still human. And so that would have been my goal. But at the same time, right there in that first half, pound the rock until they stop it. And that was a situation where if you're going to run a play like that, and as an offensive lineman, if you're going to be cutting with your tackles, that ball's got to be out. Put it at the feet of somebody.
And that's what I was going to say here too, is that I've got to go back and watch the route combination because that's one thing I didn't get to see with the live broadcast. And I tried to roll it back and see it best I could because it did appear that Tannehill was looking down the field, which I questioned why the cut block, because typically when you run a cut block scheme, especially on the goal line where you're running it in a quick set offense. And it looked like Tannehill did have a short drop back. And what you're wanting to do is get that ball out within 3 seconds. And Tannehill sat there and held it. So I'm not blaming, yes, Questenberry needs to make that block because what he did was he just kind of flopped down, overextended his cut, and then the defensive line, the Detroit defensive lineman makes a great job jumping over him to make that play. So there's a couple of technique things that Questenberry can do better, but at the same time, I question what was going on with the play call and if there was a miscommunication between Questenberry and then what the route combination was, because it did not look like at the time to throw a short pass protection scheme, and just based on what Tannehill was doing in the backfield.
Yeah, but it's hard to be critical of the offense. I mean, look, that offense is firing on all cylinders. It almost feels like the Titans, we're critical of the defense because this is a team that is going to be in the playoffs. It seems like that's going to happen. It would take a complete disaster for them not to get into the playoffs. But that's the reason the Titans fans are looking at the defense and saying this is awful. When you're the Lions, not much is different. That defense is absolutely awful. You haven't seen anything whatsoever that seems that they're going to stop the Titans offense. So, kudos to the Titans offense. And frankly, Corey Davis continues his kind of journey on this contract year, which is going to make it even more difficult when they get to the offseason. But that's a guy that continues. And look, he has a history of not typically making the super tough catches. This year, he has been super consistent with those kind of things. And you see it again today. He made a catch that when you see the replay was incredibly difficult to make on a crossing route across the middle for a first down. This is a guy that has kind of flipped the narrative on what he is and hasn't typically been a huge downfield threat, gets a big play, and just Corey Davis continues to blossom.
And not only that, does he seem to picking up in the places he was lacking, but he's continued. I've seen it in my breakdowns all week. Go check out my all 22s. But one thing I'm always fascinated with is the receiver usage in the blocking game. Corey Davis mainly. They motion him in. They get him in tight to the box. They put him up on linebacker. He just does a solid job in the blocking game. So now you're telling me he's elevating as a receiver as well? Like he's truly looking like a top 5 pick and a bargain if he continued this kind of play. And I mean it. And this is someone who thought that it was a lost pick for years. If they can find a way to re-sign him, I'm all for it because he's in all facets of the game kind of receiver.
Yeah, I see Tyler from Facebook there talking about how the defense, if the defense was mediocre, you're right. This team does not need a good defense. It doesn't even need an okay defense. Like I said at the beginning, it just doesn't have to be the worst defense in the history of professional football, which it is bordering on. You got terrible sack numbers. You got terrible third down percentages. That's a bad combination. And so when you look at that, you're not asking for much. I don't think like we're asking for, the moon here. It's be kind of okay. Just be crap. Just be crap. Even if you're crap, you still win games here. So it's one of those where if you're a defense that has come in here, like I said at the beginning, press your corners, blitz the quarterback, and take your lumps. And I think that's what you have to do because what is happening right now is not acceptable. And Look, if the Titans lose this game, you're talking about a team where Michael Pruitt is making contested catches. Doesn't typically happen. You're talking about Corey Davis making ridiculous catches across the middle. I'm not even talking about the easy wins right there. Derrick Henry stiff arms somebody into the shadow realm, and and if all those things happen, and you still
practice squad. Welcome to the NFL, Rook. Oh my God!
You even got a turnover at the goal line. If that's the case, and all that stuff goes, and you still find a way to lose this game. then that is kind of encompasses this entire Titans season, because nothing is going to go as right for this offense more than what has happened here. I'm sorry. It's just not. Even with the safety, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And on offense, they've got to get back to pounding the rock a little bit, because it seemed like there for about, 4 or 5 plays in a row, Derrick Henry just taking what he wanted to, gashing them for 8, 9, 10 yards a pop. I don't know what else you need to see there. Keep hammering that ball. Stay patient. Forget about the safety. Forget about the 2 bad plays in the entire half, and just come back out pounding the ball. Look for your shots in the pass game, play action, and take advantage of this defense, because you got to give your defense some breathing room for them to be comfortable, because I don't think this defense for the Titans plays well with pressure and not getting pressure for that matter.
Yep. So we'll wrap up there. I hope everybody that's here has happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I hope that you guys tune in with us next week. This will be an interesting second half. I would typically come out and say, hey, they need to stop in this opening drive. I don't even need to know that they need that. They just need a stop in the second half, because I'm not sure the Lions will get another one. So that's it. Brought to you by Broadway Sports Media. This has been Halftime Hits. I am Jonathan at JB on Broad on Twitter. My co-host Ryan at Ryan on Broadway on Twitter. Check us out on the Coach's Corner podcast every Wednesday. And that's it. Have a good one. Enjoy the second half.
See y'all.